Now, last thing, Shane, I got on the podcast, like I said, a slow day here or slow weekend in the SEC, but man, talking season, we get it rolling early, but the first time that was ever uttered was at SEC Media Days, and the league just announced here on Friday the lineup for the upcoming SEC Media Days, which is going to be in Atlanta for, they've done this one other time. They're bringing it back to Atlanta, the College Football Hall of Fame. You ready for the 4-day schedule here?
Mike, I am more than ready. In fact, it's so damn slow right now that Mike has power ranked the coaches at SEC Media Days. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so I'm going to go to the schedule first, just in order, and we'll break this down day by day. So the event kicks off Monday, July 18th, again, down in Atlanta. We got Brian Kelly making his debut with LSU, so that should be pretty good. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, what a treat that's going to be. And then maybe the most, surprising media day debut last year, Eli Drinkwitz down there at Missouri. So Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkwitz, that's a hell of a start to media days, isn't it?
I love it. I love it because obviously you want to hear from Brian Kelly being down there, first year LSU coach. You know, it makes, this is his time. This is his chance to win a national championship. And I think he can only do that with an SEC team like LSU. But then you got Lane and Eli, and, I don't know if these boys are bros or not, but they do like to point and pick at each other. So I'm thinking we're going to get some pretty good clips out of these two, just arguing back and forth, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, now here we go, Tuesday, July 19th. This may be the best day of them all, Shane. We got Nick Saban kicking things off. He's always good. Mike Leach. Man, how great was it last year? Come to the podium. I don't do intros. Let's fire away with the questions. I mean, that was epic. Shane Beamer, he had one hell of an SEC Media Days appearance. He'll be there. And then last but not least, Clark Lee and Vanderbilt. So, again, day 2, Nick Saban, Mike Leach, Shane Beamer, Clark Lee of Vanderbilt. That may be the highlight of the entire event.
Absolutely. Maybe an early out, though. I mean, nothing against Vanderbilt, but, usually they get that Thursday scrub, So I like that Clark's going to be there. I give him a hard time. I think there's a lot of news coming out of South Carolina. Nick Saban coming off a loss, man. How does he bounce back? The last time we saw him in a presser before a game, he was chipper, he was happy, and I think we're going to get a different Nick Saban this year. So expect some fire from them, and Lord knows what the Pirates going to throw. So I love this lineup. Give me some Tuesday.
So Wednesday, July 20th, we got Sam Pittman. He's always great. Billy Napier at Florida, his first appearance. Kirby Smart, national champion here. And then Mark Stoops, Kentucky. So, man, 4 outstanding coaches. Sam Pittman, Billy Napier, Kirby Smart, Mark Stoops, day 3. That's going to be a solid Wednesday, too.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Mike, I think this is the day I'm looking forward to most. I think you got Kirby Smart coming off a national championship. Sam Pittman is always fun and entertaining. I wish they had him a little bit later in the day so he get loosened up, But you got so many question marks coming from Florida, and of course Mark Stoops always has some good sound bites. So I think if I was power ranking the day so far, this one's right now my number 1.
All right, then last, Thursday, July 21st, we got fast-talking Jimbo Fisher. That'll be a treat. Josh Hypel, coming in his second SEC Media Days. And same with old Brian Harsin, who's going to get asked about 50,000 times about trying to get fired here and all that. So, hey, the last day is not one to sleep on either.
Now, is this the order? Because they may have done that on purpose, so we don't have to hear it all day with Brian. So I was just curious if that was the case,
Well, we'll find out at a later date the actual times, but
I got you. But no, it's still a good setup. Jimbo's always fun. Obviously, Josh Hypel coming off a huge season. Interested to see what he says, but I mean, let's face it, Mike. The news is Auburn, and everybody wants to ask Brian the golden question, and they're going to ask it a million different ways. But yeah, it may get repetitive, but that's the one that's on the seat right now.
Mm-hmm. So what Shane was poking fun at. Here's my power rankings, Shane. These are the coaches that I want to hear from the most at SEC Media Days, because you just never know what you're going to get with some of these guys. And the list for me has always got to start with the Pirate, Mike Leach, number one. Yeah. Any debate on that one?
No, I mean that's the easiest one you could do, just because, like you said, you don't know what you're going to get from him. Now, I'm not saying they're all gems. There's been plenty of times we walked away and we were a little disappointed in the Pirate, but every now and then you get the Pirate. So I'd probably say this is the one I'm most interested in, just to see what he says.
Now, how about this one? Maybe a little controversial, Shane. Number two, for me, Lane Kiffin, because the same kind of deal. I mean, he may give you nothing, or he may give you just solid gold. And man, he was entertaining as hell, I thought, the last year.
Well, I get that. I could see that. Probably not my number two. I mentioned it earlier. I kind of showed my cards. I like Kirby Smart, just coming off that national championship. I mean, just how big that head's going to be on that stage, just glowing. They're going to have to dim the lights because he's going to be shining up there, brother.
Now, number three for me, Shane, Jimbo Fisher, after National Signing Day and that NIL rant he went on. I mean, that was just epic. If we get that same energy from Jimbo, I think he'll be calling out Alabama. And remember, he was the one that said this time last year, we're going to whoop Alabama's ass. And they turned around and did it. You know what I mean? So I think he's going to get some more questions about that. And he's going to get questions about Texas coming to the league. So I think Jimbo's going to be a good one.
Jimbo's going to be a great one, Mike. I think this is the year, right? I mean, I think we said that last year, and the wheels kind of fell off a little bit, but they did a lot of good in this recruiting class. Like you said, the Texas thing. There's just so many angles that we can go with Jimbo. That's what I like. It's not going to be the same question with him. There's going to be a million different questions, because not that this program has a lot of question marks, but it's like, they've arrived, right? This is the year, right? So that's the kind of theme I'm expecting to hear in Atlanta.
Now, for me, Shane, next on the list, number 4, Shane Beamer. Like I said, he was so good in his first one, and I think that's when he really won over any South Carolina fans that were maybe not fully on board. And with all the expectations there in Columbia, finishing strong, I think Shane Beamer is going to give us more gold here at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, well, I mean, did you put Brian up there yet? I mean,
not yet.
Obviously, I mean, just to hear what the way these questions fly at him, I think I'd have Brian a little higher on your list. Okay. But I'm with you there. I mean, don't get me wrong, not far behind Shane Beamer. Came off a great season, but I just think the off-season moves, that's what people want to talk about. People want to talk about the quarterback. So there's going to be a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement coming from the Gamecocks there.
All right, Shane, before you kill me, I put him right here. Brian Harsin, number 5, because you're right. Okay. You're right. I mean, it's going to be a field day down there. He ought to be lucky that they usually hold it in Alabama. This one, not in Alabama, so maybe that'll force some of those media in Alabama not to go to the event, because when they hold it in Alabama, everybody that covers Auburn is going to be down there. I kid. I'm sure they can afford to send them to Atlanta, but it won't be as rabid of a media, I don't think, against Brian Harsin. But man, he's going to get 1,000 questions on.
Oh yeah,
the boosters and the AD and on and on and on. And if he's got a girlfriend, I mean, they'll ask him anything down here at one of these events. You know what?
Yep, absolutely. Let me ask you, Mike, on this list again, just to clarify, is it the one you're most interested in hearing, or the most like content? Because when I look at like Jimbo, stuff like that, I'm looking for more content. Obviously, with somebody like the Pirate, we're just looking for sound clips. Also good content, but I mean, is this a couple factors that
just kind of all of it, all entertaining content, clips, everything in between, because that's why they call it talking season, Shane, because it don't really matter what they say. It matters what they do on the field. But we got to squeeze all this content for what we can, during these times of year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because if you're just looking for like sound clips and stuff, you got to have Drinkwitz up there somewhere, because his smart ass is going to say something to get everybody fired up. He always comes in there with a chip on his shoulder during these type events.
It's like you read my mind, Shady. Next on the list, Eli Drinkwitz, because you're exactly right. I mean, he's calling out Arkansas. He was calling out Texas. He came to the podium with the horns down last year. I have heard him say, maybe I talked a little too much, and I got somebody come up it. So maybe he pumps the brakes a little bit this offseason. I sure hope he doesn't. But, I cannot wait for what old Eli's got to say. You know what?
Absolutely. How many Star Wars themed questions we going to get? Oh, I love it.
Now, another good one, Shane. He was great last year as well. Sam Pittman next on my list. So much expectations and hype with the Razorbacks. Now they've got to – it's not easy to turn the corner, certainly, because, hell, there's so many coaches that can't turn the corner. But the real challenge is sustaining it and taking that to another level. That's the challenge there in Fayetteville. So I can't wait to hear from Sam Pittman, and he's done a hell of a job, bringing talent in, keeping his coaches. So they're doing all the right things. But now comes the hard part, in my opinion, for Sam Pittman and company. So I can't wait to hear what he's got to say about it.
No, that's a good one there, brother. Now, Brian Kelly, is he coming up? Because I mean, Sam's good for clips. Sam's good. I mean, he's been around the block, Mike. He knows what he can say, what he can't say. I feel like he's grown up real quick on the podium. It felt like he struggled there a little bit out of the gate as a new head coach at Arkansas, but damn, he figured it out real quick. Sam runs the crowd. So I think this one, I could see Sam going up a little bit higher, just because I think it's just one of those guys you just want to keep asking questions, because you just don't know what he's going to say next.
Right. Well, next on my list, Shane, Nick Saban. And really for me, you could put him a lot higher. You could put him a little bit lower. But for me, it's all about when Saban comes and he's got a message. Because when he's got something that's pissing him off or something he wants changed, he makes an emphasis about it, and everybody's got to react to what did Nick say this year? You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's a little bit of a wild card. He should have a loaded team. I think they're going to be picked to win the SEC by the media down there. So, I think Nick Saban could be a pretty interesting one as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's the team captain. Forget national champs. Forget all this stuff. We got 14 coaches hanging out in a room. They're all looking up to Nick Saban. He's the dad, if you will. So, what kind of advice, like you said, is going to come out? I mean, he's going to tell you what has been discussed, and he's bullheaded. He's going to stick to whatever he thinks should be fixed or done. So, there's going to be some. There's something, man. This NIL. I mean, we're going to talk about it. There's a lot of hot things. The SEC expanding, the new schedules coming up and stuff. All that filters through Nick Saban. If you think it don't, you're crazy. So I'd probably have him higher on the list just to see what was discussed during those closed door meetings.
Now, next on the list, Shane, the guy you referenced there, Brian Kelly. Let's hope he dances up to the podium. Over under how many dancing questions he's going to get down there? It's probably about half a dozen, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, going to get that. He may even come out with smoke and all that stuff, just play up the theme. Be fun down there in LSU. That's what you want to be. So I think there's going to be a lot of great questions here. LSU's one of those that there are a lot of holes. There's a lot of question marks, a lot of, we don't know. I mean, we know what Brian likes to run. We've got a track record of his offense and his defense and the style of football he likes to play. But how does that transition to the SEC? I think there's going to be just a lot of great content coming from there. So I'm excited to see him on the podium as well.
Yeah, next on the list for me, Shane, Billy Napier, in large part because it's going to be his first time. Want to see him get his message across as the face of the Gator Nation. He should be a good one this year, don't you think?
Oh, well, yeah, same deal. Well, it's a lot of question marks. He threw it all out, man. It's all in the dumpster. He's building it back up from the ground up. So the Florida Gators got a new team, baby, and it's going to take a while to build. We're gonna know. I mean, them coaches, they know. They look in the pantry and they come out and they say, well, it's going to be a couple years, But if it comes out and he's ready to compete now, I mean, as a Gator fan, you got to be pretty excited about that. So I'm interested to see what he says and just see who he is. I mean, we've all seen sound clips and little interviews and things like that, but you don't see him as an SEC coach until he's there telling you what he plans on doing with the university. So, I'm very interested to see what he's got planned.
Now, next I got Kirby Smart. Shane, does he wear his championship ring to the podium? I think he does.
Oh yeah, well I told you he's going to be glowing, son. He is going to be he's going to be taking all the questions. So they better clear half the schedule because Kirby's going to be loaded and the team's going to be loaded. So do they repeat? I mean, we're going to hear all of it. So no, that's going to be a good one. I think you should have him a little higher. National champ first. I mean, Georgia since 1980, and you got him all the way down there.
I mean, this is just how deep we go in the SEC these days.
I
can't even figure out who to put last on this thing. But next I got Mark Stoops, Shane, because it'll be interesting. Kentucky, I know they just lost their coordinator, but the hype continues to grow. There's going to be people picking Kentucky to win the SEC East. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to be the favorite to do it or anything, but how does that transition go in Lexington where you've been disrespected, you're picked against year after year after year, and now that now you're going to get some momentum. Now you're going to be favored by some people. How does that transition play out for the Kentucky Wildcats? Because I feel like they'd rather probably be disrespected. So they're probably hoping everyone picks Georgia to win the East. That probably suits Mark Stoops a little bit better, don't you think?
Right. And like you said, you're expecting that. It just feels like Kentucky's one of these teams that slowly every single year get more and more momentum. And this year is going to be no different. It went from, I can't believe somebody's picked, Kentucky to win the East to like, well, maybe. I mean, there's a chance. The schedule looks good. So we're going to get those type of questions. We're going to get, like you said, coordinator questions, a lot about the players. They've been, again, very, very active with the recruiting. So, yeah, and not to mention, Stoops is just fun to talk to. He's kind of like a poor man Pittman, if you will, as far as communication. Like if I'm having a beer, it's going to be with him or Pittman, right out of the gate. Now, I may introduce some of these other ones later, but if I had to pick two real quick, these two boys are going to the bar with me.
Now, next, Shane, I got Josh Hypel. Not a very his offense, his teams are fun as hell to watch. His press conferences, not so much, but at least I think he's going to get asked several times about defenses faking injuries. So if nothing else, I think that'll make for some good content. But again, I don't know. He won't pull a Lane Kiffin here and say anything too bombastic, but I certainly wish he would. Oh yeah. No, I think Hypel's going to get a lot of questions. Obviously a little higher on my list to see him, but he had a hell of a year, just like Beamer. I think we're going to get a lot of those questions, and how do they continue to grow, and some of the changes they had there in the off season. So I like it. Obviously he doesn't have the personality of some of these other guys, but no, I think we're going to get a lot of good content. I can see why he's a little lower on your list. Hypel's he's not a talker, but he did a lot of. We did a lot of good stuff there in Knoxville last year, and. Hell, Mike, if anything, this may be this coach may be asked more about hookers than any other SEC coach since old damn Hugh Freeze, So if there's anything to take away from it, you got that. And then last we got Clark Lee, Shane. Until Vanderbilt, is a little bit more relevant, still an uphill climb for the Commodores. I think he's going to be reserved down here until he pulls a couple upsets and maybe declares Vanderbilt back as an SEC threat. You know what?
Yeah, Lee's got to get some upsets this year, man. Obviously they were in a rebuild and still going to be dealing with that, but this is the SEC, man. You can't sit down at the bottom too long. You got to be competitive, or they're looking for another one. And I just like the story of Coach Lee there at Vanderbilt. I just love the fact that this is a family, and that's kind of the environment they created last year, and they fought tough, man. So how do they build off that? That's one of those things that Clark Lee can answer for us.
Yeah, and when he came to media days last year, he brought his helmet that he wore as a fullback down there for Vandy. So I'm hoping he brings that mentality. I hope he brings that helmet to Atlanta this year.
Absolutely, man.
Well, hey, man, like I said, power ranking media days, that's where we're at right now. But we got to have something fun to talk about.
Let me ask you, since we're talking about it here. Who's got to win the podium? Who's got to come into this thing? I mean, there's a lot of new coaches. There's some coaches been in here a couple of years. Who needs to step up and galvanize their program? Because let's say it, when you got the spotlight on you and you're doing the car wash and you're doing these types of things, you're the face of the program right now when we can't watch football. So who do you want to see come out here and just take over that microphone and let them know that everything's going to be all right?
I think that's got to be Brian Kelly, Shane, because we all know what LSU can be. We know what Brian Kelly has done in his career. But there's still a lot of people that have questions about whether he's a right fit down there, if he can recruit in the SEC, how's this going to work? There's a lot of coaches that are successful elsewhere, and then they come down here and they, it's a completely different animal. But I think if LSU has got better leadership, it's basically like a Ferrari, Shane, on a paved road. If you can stay on this bad boy, you are going to do incredible things. But, when you hit that corner, you start careening into the ditch. You know what I mean? He's got to keep that thing off a ditch. And I don't see a lot of curves upcoming for LSU, but they are out there when you get into these matchups. But I think Brian Kelly, he can show up and basically show that, hey, we got a leader that we can believe in up here, because I certainly think he has what it takes to win in the SEC, but he's had some missteps, to say the least, in his time there. So I think he's got to figure out a way to get past that and show better showing in public, I think.
Well, let me ask you on the opposite end of that. Who has the most to lose? Who can get up there and you're feeling good about the program? You think this is the year they step forward? Because we've all heard it. This coach speak and stuff like that, but then they come off and then they start talking about rebuilds or 2 or 3 years and they lose a little bit of steam, it feels like. Who's the one coach that can come up here and lose some momentum?
I think it's the guy I got number one, Shane, and why I love him, Shane. Mike Leach. I mean, I could see a scenario where he get fired after a press conference. You know what I mean? Like he's out there crazy because he don't give a damn about anything or anyone. Or no, I shouldn't say that, but I think he's just not guarded, and he just tells you what he thinks. And if you don't agree with him, he's like, oh well, I don't give a damn. That means nothing to me. Right. So I would put Mike Leach up there, but I certainly don't think and he never should get fired by saying something dumb in a press conference, because I think he's just saying whatever's popping into his mind. But that's what makes it so entertaining to me, is because you literally never know. I mean, he'll start talking about aliens and Bigfoot, and I mean, can you imagine Nick Saban talking about that stuff? That would never happen.
No. Absolutely not. No. Yeah, and they're going, and they know it. The media knows it. So they've got a few that are put in their back pocket just for the Pirates. So one last question I got for you on the media days. Players, I've slept since the end. When do the players get announced usually? Is this at the end of spring games or
so how's that? Usually, I don't know why the SEC really, I don't like the way they do this, but they pretty much announce that like a week before. So.
Oh, okay.
I wish they'd give us
a couple. Plenty of time.
I wish they'd give you a month or two heads up so that you could, research the players a little bit better. But yeah, it's usually the week before, and they always bring 3. So,
well, maybe since it's talking season, list season, we can put together a list of players we hope show up from each of these teams.
That'll be the next media list we do, I'm sure. So, yeah, man, that's all I got on this episode. You got anything else before we hop off here to start our week?
No, that's it, man. Like I said, the trips are over. The vacations are over. Shane is back full time, and I still like the fact you're putting out some of these interviews. You come on here to find out about your team, and Mike's doing a lot, especially outside this pod, getting together some of these interviews so that we can get a more in-depth analysis of each team, so you can kind of know what your team's going to look like going into the spring. So I appreciate the effort you're doing, and I appreciate all the interviews you've been putting out, Mike. They're fantastic. And when's this next one dropping again?
So we've got interviews lined up for Wednesday's show, for Thursday's show, and maybe there may be one or two in between if I can line them up. But for sure, confirmed on Thursday and Friday shows. Or no, I'm sorry, Wednesday and Thursday.
Well, we'll be cranking up info too, because that's the thing. When spring's going, we got news again. So
exactly.
So be sure to check us out. If you got an Apple product, man, again, we're sending out koozies. Oh, actually, Spotify now. How's the Spotify numbers looking? Everybody sending in those?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't have an Apple product, people have been wanting to know for years, can I get in on this action? Absolutely. Just fire up the Spotify app. We're the #1 rated SEC podcast on the Spotify app as well. You give us a 5 stars review on there. You can't write anything, but hell, we'll take that 5-star if you give it to us, and you send that on over to that secpodcast@gmail.com. We're happy to send you a beer koozie free of charge just for doing it.
Oh, yeah. I saw one down there on Turks and Caicos. Is that how you say that? I had to Google that one. I didn't. I was like, where the hell's that at?
Absolutely. Hey, yeah, when you go on vacation, take your koozie, man. Send us a pic, and we'll throw that up on the Twitter machine as well. So that's just another way of us saying thanks for all the support you guys give us, because that's why we do it, man. We're doing it for the audience out there, and if not for you guys, there wouldn't even be a show.
For sure.
But all right, Shane, I think that's we're about to pass out here just talking to one another. So let's end it here. And I appreciate you as always, Shane. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. And be sure to check out the next pod where we rank the best weather at each stadium. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Y'all have a good one. Drive safe. Go Vols.